Based on your final research outlines, what I want to do is give you some final tips heading into the research proposal that is due on the 22nd. Right now, you should have received all of your feedback for that, so use that feedback along with the following tips in constructing the final research proposal. So for your final research proposal, three basic things you need to do is really look at the final research proposal instructions that are in CourseDen. I've made a couple of slight grading changes based on the outline. It's nothing major. It's just a more detailed explanation of the point values, and that will help you when you turn in this final research proposal. Your final research proposal should include the following elements: title page, which is 1 point, review the APA manual; an abstract, which is 2 points. An abstract is basically just a brief summary of what you're proposing to do. It won't have any results because you haven't conducted the research. Your introduction and literature review, this is worth 7 points. The methods section, which is worth 6 points, your references, which are worth 2 points, and also the overall writing quality, which is also worth 2 points. Remember that this final research proposal is worth 20% of your grade. So for your title page, it is 1 page in length. And here is the grading criteria for that. Does the title identify the major topic of your study? And is the title page in the correct APA format? Consult the APA manual or Purdue OWL if you're unfamiliar with what the final format should be in terms of the title page. For the abstract, your abstract the page length is 1 page, and it is basically a paragraph at most, and it's a brief comprehensive summary of the contents of your paper. And also is the abstract in the correct format as well. And consult the example paper in CourseDen. That will help you in formatting your final paper. The introduction and literature review should be anywhere between 4 to 8 pages. And here's the grading criteria. Do you have an overview and introduction of the problem? This is basically with your outlining why should this study or proposed study be something we should be paying attention to. Is the review of the literature adequate? Look back at your annotated bibliographies as well as other sources you've consulted for your final proposal. Also, does the literature review lead to and relate to the purpose of your study and your research question? Is the purpose of the study mentioned? Also, do you clearly discuss the research questions in terms of outlining them and what has formed the basis of this? Is the introduction in the correct APA format? And make sure to cite things that are in your paper, especially when they come from research. When you think of things that are common statements or whatnot, such as, we always talk about retention in college students for a specific population, make sure you're citing the literature on where you found those specific sources and information. Here are a couple basic tips for your intro or literature review. Make sure it is organized and that the paper flows and doesn't come to any abrupt stops or statements, and that it relates to the purpose of your study. Your purpose should have a clear connection to the literature and be very concise. Your research questions should be appropriate, just based for the literature reviews, and it leads into, if you think of an inverted pyramid, you're starting out broad and then you're funneling down in specific to your research questions. And is it in APA format? Are there headers and are the citations correct? For your methods, that should be anywhere between 2 to 4 pages in length. The grading criteria is the research design of the study described in detail? Are the participants mentioned and identified? Are the proposed analyses, and in this case, you don't have to have the right analysis. I'm looking for you to take a chance and say, how would you analyze the data? Is the method section in the correct APA format? And is the method is the procedure properly justified with references? Check in CourseDen for quantitative and qualitative literature there, because that will help you with justifying the method for your study. Here's some tips on the method for the research design. Is it detailed? Is it justified and clearly explained? And also your method should relate to your research questions. For example, if you're looking at, is there a correlation or is there a relationship between, those are typically quantitative research questions. If you're looking at how types of questions are describing an experience, those are typically more qualitative research questions. For your references section, those are worth 2 points. It can be 1 to 2 pages in length. The grading criteria, you need a minimum of 5 academic peer-reviewed sources, and is your reference page in the correct APA format. So the biggest thing I have here is reviewing the manual or any sources to make sure those references are correct, and review the sources to make sure they're also academic, coming from journal articles and peer-reviewed papers. Your writing quality is more of an overall. The biggest thing here is your paper free of grammatical and mechanical errors, and also is it free of first and second person, and also colloquial or common statements, like if you say statements such as to this is okay, that's more common than it is more academic. And do you follow the quote requirement? For example, only use one quote in your writing, because really at this point for a research proposal outline, you should be at the point where you're stating things in your own words. When you do use a quote, always include the page number per APA style. If I were to offer any overall tips in terms of doing your final research proposal, is to take your time, review your work, or have a peer or somebody else read over your work if you're not sure if it makes sense. Provide justification in terms of citations for what you're doing, relate the material back to the literature, follow APA, and also follow the directions in the final research paper format. Good luck, and I look forward to reading your final research proposals.